Before we begin, viewer discretion is strongly advised. What follows is the courtroom testimony from the federal trial of Sean Diddy Combs, as reported by various news outlets. All events and statements are for entertainment and educational purposes only. Day 13 of the Sean Diddy Combs trial, the courtroom was still, tense, bracing. The judge had barely returned from recess when the bailiff whispered something, then nodded to the back of the room. The doors creaked open, and in walked Justin Bieber. No entourage, no press announcement, just a young man in a navy suit, face pale, eyes hollow, shoulders tense. Gasps broke the air. You could feel the room shift. Attorneys stood still. Reporters stopped typing mid-sentence. Even Sean Combs blinked. Once, then again, sitting forward in his chair. Because everyone knew what this meant. For years, Bieber's name had been floated in blog posts, documentaries, and shadowy YouTube theories. The parties, the mentorship, the footage. But through it all, Justin stayed quiet. Until now. He walked to the stand slowly, hands trembling. No preamble, no prepared remarks. When he reached the mic, he didn't look at the jury. He didn't look at Diddy, he just looked down. "I was 15 when I met him," he said, "and I thought he was saving my life." A single line, and already the room was frozen. I thought it was just mentorship. I thought it was about music, but it was never just that. Justin took a breath. His voice cracked. Everything they've said about those parties, everything people whispered about, it's all true. One juror inhaled sharply. A woman in the gallery clutched her purse to her chest. "My mom trusted him. The label trusted him. Everyone said, Diddy's gonna take care of you. He's got the keys." Justin paused. His hands shook. But when the cameras were off, when the jets landed, when the music stopped, he wasn't a mentor. He was a gatekeeper. The judge leaned forward slightly, eyes narrowed. "I went to that first party because Scooter said it was good for networking. I thought it would be like the Kids' Choice Awards or something." He gave a bitter laugh, brief, broken. There were no kids there. Just me, and people I'd only seen in movies, and mirrors. So many mirrors. So many hidden rooms. He turned his gaze just briefly to Diddy. "You told me I was your little brother, but I was just a trophy." Bieber's voice caught. "He told me, you're gonna be the biggest star in the world. But first, you gotta learn how this world works." The courtroom didn't move. Couldn't. Phones taken at the door. NDA in my bag before I even knew what it meant. He paused. There were older men. Some famous. Some I didn't recognize. They watched everything. And Diddy smiled like he was proud. A juror covered their mouth. The stenographer looked up, shaken. I was offered champagne. I was told to relax. I was 15. He held back tears. Later, he told me if I ever talked, the world would turn on me. That I'd be another washed-up kid who got too cocky. His hand went to his chest, trembling. He said, "I made you. I can end you." And I believed him. The courtroom was paralyzed. No one whispered. No one looked away. Because now Justin Bieber, the icon, the idol, the phenomenon, wasn't a pop star. He was a witness, a survivor. And the truth was only just beginning. The room was still, but inside the witness stand, Justin's voice was cracking. After that night, things changed. I wasn't just a singer anymore. I was property. He shifted in his seat, gripping the edge of the stand as if the wood could anchor him. At first, I told myself it was normal, that this was just how fame worked. He glanced up, his eyes rimmed with red. But it wasn't normal. It was never normal. He recounted a moment after his debut album went platinum. "I was 16. My songs were charting. I had fans, tour dates, interviews lined up. And Diddy called. He said, 'Now you owe me.'" He laughed bitterly. I didn't know what that meant. I thought maybe it was money or loyalty. I didn't realize it meant control. The prosecutor asked what happened next. Justin exhaled slowly, like someone preparing to jump into ice water. He started calling at all hours. If I didn't answer, someone from his team would show up. Hotels, studios, even my house. They'd say things like, "Don't forget who put you here." He paused. When I tried to pull away, projects would fall through. Suddenly, I wasn't available for interviews. Suddenly, rumors would start about me using drugs, having breakdowns, being unstable. He looked down at the microphone. The worst part is, some of it became true. The courtroom leaned in. Because I was breaking, he broke me. He spoke about attending more events. They always started the same. Dark lighting, low music, phones gone. Older men, silent guards, sometimes famous faces. They called it family time. I called it prison with velvet ropes. The prosecutor asked if he ever tried to speak out. I did, once. His voice caught in his throat. I told my label rep that I didn't want to go to Diddy's house anymore. A week later, I got a call from Diddy himself. He stared forward, unblinking. He said, "Careful. You don't want to become a problem child, Justin. You wouldn't want anything leaking." One of the jurors winced. A camera flash popped quietly in the gallery. I realized then they'd recorded me. I don't know how much. I don't know when, but I knew he had something, and that was enough. Justin swallowed hard, struggling. I wasn't living. I was surviving. The room was thick with silence, like fog that wouldn't lift. I remember being 17 and hiding in a hotel bathroom before a red carpet, crying, asking God to take it all away. The money, the fans, the voice. I didn't care anymore. I just wanted to be a kid again. He wiped his face. The courtroom remained still. But I stayed, because I thought that was the price of the dream. He turned toward the jury. They say fame has a cost, but they never tell you who collects. In the defense chair, Diddy had gone completely pale, because for the first time in his career, the story wasn't his to shape. The judge leaned back in his seat. He wasn't writing. He was listening. Everyone was. Justin cleared his throat and shifted again, fidgeting with the cuff of his sleeve, eyes low. Every movement, small, haunted. For years, I thought I could outrun it, that if I just kept singing, kept touring, kept smiling for cameras, it would go away. He let out a deep breath, but it never went away, because it wasn't in the past. It was built into the industry, into every step I took forward. He spoke of strange phone calls, anonymous messages, notes left in dressing rooms. Just little things. "You looked good last night," or "Keep smiling, Biebs." At first I thought they were from fans, but then I realized they weren't. They were reminders. From him. He looked up, right at Diddy. "That I belong to you." A sharp intake of breath from the gallery. Diddy didn't move. There was a moment, around 2017, Justin continued, voice thin, when I tried to walk away. I'd had enough. I told my manager I wanted a break, a real one. No tours, no press, just peace. His voice faltered. That's when it all came crashing in. He explained how a video leaked, a shaky clip of him stumbling out of a club, incoherent. That wasn't a mistake. That was a shot across the bow. He lowered his head for a moment, gathering himself. He'd told me once, back when I was 16, the best leash is the one they don't know they're wearing. The courtroom sat in horrified silence. For years I didn't know, but I felt it. The prosecutor asked about the rumors, the breakdowns, the spirals. Justin nodded slowly. Some were true. I did spiral. I was angry, confused, drugged sometimes without even knowing it. But the worst part wasn't the lies. His hands gripped the wood again. It was that no one around me ever questioned it. They just said, That's Hollywood. Like it was weather. Like it was something we couldn't change. He looked toward the jury. But we could have changed it. I could have. His voice cracked again. But I was too scared. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded photo. He held it up. It was him, 14 years old, smiling on stage. He found me before I knew who I was, and then he told me who I had to be. He looked down at the photo. Not a boy, not an artist, just another souvenir on his shelf. A quiet sob escaped from the back of the gallery. Every room I walked into, he was already there, in the silence, in the contracts, in the rumors people whispered but never asked me to confirm. He set the photo down. This isn't just about parties. It's about ownership. He stared at Diddy again. You didn't just build a brand. You built a maze, and you made sure some of us never found the exit. The judge's gavel trembled slightly in his grip. And outside the courtroom, the internet had already erupted. But Justin Bieber, he wasn't trending as a pop star. He was testifying as something else, a survivor. Justin sat in silence for several moments. His hands trembled on the witness stand. His shoulders were hunched like he'd been carrying that weight since he was a boy. The prosecutor broke the silence gently. Justin, why now? He didn't answer immediately. He just reached up and wiped his face with the back of his hand, his eyes glazed and full. Because I want to live again, he finally said. Because every time I've smiled in the last 10 years, I had to remember who owned that smile. He exhaled sharply, shaking his head. There was always a voice in my head saying, if you talk, it's over. If you tell the truth, the music stops. He looked directly at the jury, and for the first time, his voice carried weight beyond pain. It carried resolve. But what good is music if you're not free? He spoke then about a night in 2022. I was at home, alone. I saw my reflection, and I didn't recognize myself. I wasn't the kid on stage anymore. I wasn't even a man. I was just haunted. He described watching Cassie's story break, the lawsuit, the bravery. And I knew it was time. He called his lawyer. He asked to speak with the prosecution. He told them everything, the recordings, the threats, the tapes he suspected existed, some of which he'd never seen but always feared. There's probably footage of me out there, he admitted, voice shaking. Footage I don't remember, but I know he has it. I always knew. He turned to the judge. I didn't come here to take revenge. I came here to take my voice back. A single tear rolled down his cheek. The industry will spin this. They'll say I'm unstable, that I'm lying, that I'm making it all up. He held his hands out, palms up. But if that's true, why do I feel like I can finally breathe? He looked at Diddy one last time. The courtroom waited. You told me I'd be a star. And I was, but you never told me the price. You never told me that the moment I said yes, I'd spend the next decade learning how to say no. Diddy stared back. He didn't speak. He didn't blink. He just sat, for the first time without control. The judge gave Justin permission to step down. As he stood, the gallery was completely silent. No whispers, no camera clicks, just a room of people watching a man reclaim something he never should have lost. Justin didn't wave. He didn't look back. He walked straight out the side door, past the press, past the handlers, past the ghosts. Outside, the world was on fire. News alerts exploded. Social media lit up. But inside that courtroom, it was quiet. Because truth, when it finally arrives, doesn't scream. It just stands up, tells its story, and walks out free.